Right now, from KTAB News, your local election headquarters, this is Big Country Politics.
Thanks for being here for Big Country Politics. I'm Victor Sotelo. We start with our eye on Texas, and some Texans facing eviction from their homes because of COVID-19 can tap into rent relief thanks to a new program launched by the state of Texas. KTAB's Austin Bureau reporter Wes Rappaport has more on the plan and who should apply.
Better late than never. I think there are so many people that are still struggling.
The pandemic's blow to jobs is forcing people to make drastic decisions, like Rachel in Austin.
I built a bed in my car, and now I live in my car because rent is just too expensive to pay.
To help, Texas will launch a statewide relief program to cover some rent and utility costs. $1 billion in federal funding will be administered by the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs.
As far as who we're going to be able to serve, certainly tens of thousands, maybe 80,000 households. It's hard to say because each applicant would have various amounts of back rent. We have a finite amount of money.
The program targets landlords and tenants making at or below 80% of the area median income. But the state will go a step further and prioritize applicants making below half of the area median income level and households where Texans are unemployed.
While this may be late in coming, it's going to be truly a great program for a lot of families so that they can help at least pay the bills.
El Paso landlord Demetrio Jimenez tells me he's grateful tenants and landlords can apply for help backdated to March at a time when evictions are on hold.
Certainly help quite a few property management companies keep the doors open, as well as keep a lot of families from becoming homeless.
That's going to be someone's like angel, you know, saving grace.
In Austin, with coverage you can count on, Wes Rappaport, KTAB News.
And applications open Monday. You can go to our website at bigcountryhomepage.com to learn more. Okay, Texas lawmakers are now discussing how to make the COVID-19 vaccine distribution more efficient. The emergency declaration tied to the pandemic created an opt-out framework for reporting coronavirus vaccines. Patients who did not opt out would be added automatically, but because it was only intended to be temporary change, the state's coding did not match the CDC's, leading to extra work for providers.
Providers have had to submit their hundreds of vaccines administered by hand on Excel spreadsheets, which introduces human error into the data. And providers have either had to bring on temporary staff or have their staff work overnight in order to meet the state's daily reporting requirements.
And lawmakers now want to make this opt-out system permanent, saying that it would have spared the state these problems. Representative Howard says under this new bill filed, patients would only have to opt out once, and those who choose not to get vaccinated won't be affected by the bill at all. Now to our eye on Abilene. Abilene ISD working with Hendrick Health Systems to get people vaccinated against COVID-19 in the Key City. KTAB's Dan Booth tells us how the school district is planning to use the middle school campus as a vaccination site to vaccinate as many people as possible, as quickly as possible.
To combat the pandemic, Abilene ISD is volunteering to work with Hendrick Health by using school buildings as vaccination sites.
The vaccination center will be at Mann Middle School, and Hendrick is going to provide 1,000 vaccinations to the Abilene community for people 18 and older that won't require reservations.
According to Abilene ISD Superintendent Dr. David Young, the Pfizer vaccines provided by Hendrick Health will be free. They'll be given out on a first-come, first-served basis, and
they don't have to qualify under Tier 1B or 1A.
One of the reasons Mann Middle School was selected to be the first vaccination site is because
we have new band halls that are kind of exterior to the rest of the building. They're connected. They have great contained entrance and exit and practice rooms.
Dr. Young says it's important to make sure people who want the vaccine have the opportunity to get it, and the hours of when people can go get the vaccine plays a big role in that.
Try to do it before the typical workday starts and even extend into the evening if there are vaccines left to just make make it easier for working families.
As of now, the plan is for people to receive the second dose at the same location they received the first dose. Dr. Young says if this major operation works out, there's a good chance it won't be a one-time thing.
They would like for us to do this as many times as is valuable to our community. And we're the first time we're going to do it Man Middle School, and it may be that we're doing one in a different geographic section of town.
For BigCountryHomepage.com, I'm Dan Booth.
And Dr. Young added the district's ability to have constant communication with families could be a useful tool in getting everyone vaccinated. The date and time for vaccinations are at Man Middle School have not been set. All right, staying in Abilene, you may have noticed Rebecca Lane in South Abilene has been closed between Buffalo Gap and Ridgemont Drive, causing headaches for shoppers and drivers and even more problems for local businesses. KTAB's Marley Caper spoke with the city to see what's going on.
You're not hearing much of this because restaurant owners on Rebecca Lane says there's not much of this. And in a time that's already hard enough on local restaurants because of the pandemic,
it's just been super difficult.
The last thing they need are more bumps in the road. In this case, quite literal.
It's just been disastrous as far as traffic being able to get to our locations.
The Rebecca Lane project started in September and continues to this day with no clear end in sight.
Particularly for Rebecca Lane.
The project, according to Abilene Director of Water Utilities Rodney Taylor, was to relocate utilities on the street.
And the contractor did run into some difficulties that were unanticipated that did extend that project.
Taylor says the city understands the limits caused by the project, but there was a large pipe underneath the road that needed to be fixed first.
Obviously, we're concerned about that, but we also had to look at the reality of the things we have to do to construct in a safe manner.
Owners of Hashi Tapan Grill and Life of Pie say at a time they're used to being busy like lunch, they're nearly empty.
There has been a significant decrease in our revenue since this has started.
I would say between 20 and 30%. Other restaurants, for sure, it's well above 40%.
And while Hashi has another location they can rely on to make up for the 30% lost, other restaurants only have the one location.
Luckily, we've had some customers who have, trekked their way through the Hilton. They've trekked their way through residential areas, but not everyone can come through.
Rodney says the next step in the project is to lay down asphalt, and until the weather clears up, that won't be happening. In Abilene with coverage you can count on, Marley Capper, KTAB News.
All right, we'll keep you updated on that story. Still to come on Big Country Politics, we're breaking down the latest on the impeachment trial. Dr. Paul Fabrizio from McMurray is in the studio. We're back in 2 minutes.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, welcome back to Big Country Politics, and joining us once again, Dr. Paul Fabrizio. Thank you for coming in with McMurray University, political science professor.
It's good to be here.
Thank you for making the drive in here on this icy Thursday. Now, we record this show on Thursday, and I say that because we're going to be talking about the impeachment trial, but these proceedings are going to be going on, you said, Friday, Saturday even. So there may be some changes from what we talk about here today. As far as the impeachment trial goes.
Right. The plan right now is that as of today, Thursday, the House prosecutors will finish their case. Then tomorrow, the Trump defense team will start their case, and they will have 16 hours. And so the plan is that they will go and do half of it on Friday and then half of it on Saturday. Then the Senate could come back into session on Sunday afternoon for a couple of hours for the next step, which is where there is an opportunity for the senators to ask questions about what has been the evidence that's been presented so far.
And so far, this is, and you alluded to this just a while, this is like a regular trial, like a regular criminal trial. I mean, the state presents their case, then the defense comes up and defends.
Yes.
There, right?
Yes.
As far as that goes.
Yes. So in that sense, this is like a trial, and the House impeachment was actually like a grand jury. But we need to be careful that this is not a trial in the sense of a criminal trial. The Constitution is very specific. This is about removing someone from office and then making sure they never get to run again for office. So this is not about anything related to criminal things, so therefore it's a different kind of process.
Well, and the last thing you said there, one of the last things you said there was making sure that they never, that President Trump or former President Trump never again runs for office, and which is one of the arguments for having this impeachment trial. Obviously, the other side is this constitutional at all, and should we be wasting our time on this when there's so many other things to work on?
Right. And what we had a couple of days ago was actually a debate on the constitutionality of this, and it was the decision of the U.S. Senate by a 56-44 vote that it was constitutional to have this trial. So therefore, the question of constitutionality is moot. It's already been decided. We know, based on the Senate vote, it's constitutional. Now, there's 44 senators who disagree with that, but it's still, by the Senate's own decision, it's constitutional.
And I want to ask you about how the public is watching this, because I think it's interesting. If they're even us in the news business, I mean, we have so many other things to city council and all these other things to keep up with, that we're kind of watching and like the public is, like they're kind of watching in the news, maybe catching a little bit at lunchtime because it's on all the channels, catching a little bit. We're watching a little bit at a time, taking bits and pieces, and talk about that. Talk about the perception of this, having that in mind of the public.
Well, partly we don't know because public opinion polls haven't had an opportunity to really get a sense of where the public is, because we're still early in the process. We're day 3 today.
But those polls are going to come out.
Those polls are going to come out.
Okay.
And what most Americans see are little clips on the news or the morning shows, or they watch on YouTube, they watch on Twitter. I've talked to people who've seen little bits of it on Twitter. And then there's other people like myself. On the first day, I watched all 4 hours. But
this is why we have you on.
But then yesterday I had to teach.
Yeah.
So I couldn't watch. But this afternoon I plan to be watching again. Okay, so there's those junkies like myself who need it, who need to watch it our fix, if you will. But most Americans will just see little bits here and there. And they'll see it through either the eyes of the news media, or they'll see it on social media and Twitter, in other words, who they follow, which again is a filter to it. And I think it was interesting yesterday that a couple of the conservative news sites, Fox News, OAN, they both got criticized because they cut away from the testimony at various times to hold their regular news programs. So in other words, they decided there's other things that are more important to watch or to show than this impeachment trial.
So it's interesting that you said, and which is what I was getting down to, I mean, people are watching this through filters, whatever filter they choose.
Yes, unless you are sitting there watching C-SPAN, and only watching C-SPAN, there are going to be filters. And, what are they going to show? What are the commentators going to say when members of the Senate take a break? There will be other commentary. And even C-SPAN has a little bit of commentary and people calling in. So we all have those filters. We all have to deal with them. At the same time, what the House managers have tried to do is present video evidence of what took place. And, that can be criticized because they're showing a certain story of that video evidence. But that video evidence is really hard to watch. It's very compelling.
That's what I was going to say. It's compelling, hard to not look away when they're showing it, especially when they put it together in clips, one clip after another, one clip after another.
Trying to put a timeline to it all so we can get a sense of, well, this was taking place, well, this was taking place, and the president was saying this, and the vice president was doing that. Trying to put that all together makes a really good story. And the question is it going to matter?
So when we come back, I want to talk to you about what we see coming next. And I also want to talk to you about more about the filter that people are watching this through, because I got a couple of questions on that. Okay.
Sure.
When we come back on Big Country Politics, we continue with Dr. Paul Fabrizio, political science professor over at McMurray University, and someone who is watching many hours of this impeachment trial, which is why we have him on. We'll be back on Big Country Politics.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, welcome back to Big Country Politics. We're continuing our conversation with Dr. Paul Fabrizio, political science professor over at McMurray University. Again, thank you for braving this weather and driving in today. I want to talk to you about, again, about the filter we all see this trial, this impeachment trial happening. And one of those is through the filter of our representatives. I mean, some Congress, our state representatives, some have taken a step back. Some are still all in, supporting President Trump. One of those is Congressman Jody Arrington, who I feel is still all in, and he feels he's representing his constituents.
We have to look at this, and I mentioned this earlier, not as a criminal procedure, but a political procedure. So therefore, one of the filters, probably the most important filter, is politics. Donald Trump dominates the Republican Party. Even though he's out of office, he is still the dominant figure in the Republican Party. Probably about 80% of Republicans still support President Trump. As a consequence, if you are a representative, and we'll use Jody Arrington as an example, you have to decide what your job is as a representative. Do you represent the will of the people? And his constituents are very much in favor of supporting President Trump in this. Or do you decide, I'm going to be impartial, I'm going to look at the evidence, I'm going to see where the evidence lies. And as a model of that, you look at the senator from Louisiana, Bill Cassidy. And he surprised everybody by voting to say this is a constitutional procedure that must move forward. And as a consequence, his constituents have been really dumping on him the last couple of days. The state Republican Party in Louisiana has denounced him. His friends, his donors have denounced him. But he says, I took an oath to defend the Constitution. And he says, right now there is a conflict between that oath and my constituents. And that is what he has to resolve as the votes come up. And so Jody Arrington is going to be in the same place. Well, he's already in the same place. He already voted to impeach, so he's out of it. But John Cornyn and Ted Cruz have to look at it. Am I a representative? Am I going to follow the Constitution? If I follow the Constitution, does that lead to a different answer? Does that lead to impeaching and convicting the president? Or does it lead to acquittal? So there's a lot of things that go on here.
Well, and I guess we'll know more about their strategy on Election Day. I mean, in a couple of years when...
Yeah, I mean, in the end, if you are going to be the representative, then you just, whatever my voters want to do, and you do that so you stay in their good graces, so you don't have a primary opponent coming from somebody in the Republican Party who's more conservative than you. So if Jody Arrington doesn't have that primary opponent, then Jody Arrington obviously thinks he did the right thing. Is it the right thing in the long view of history? That's another question. I would argue that history is not going to be kind to those who supported President Trump in this. When we look at who we remember as heroes in American history, we remember those who took a stand of courage despite the will of many voters, despite the will of their voters. You know, John F. Kennedy wrote Profiles in Courage as a model of that. And that is used by both parties. You know, are you going to stand up to your voters and do the right thing? And so my sense is that historically, a lot of those Republicans are not going to look good.
Did you just give us homework, Profiles in Courage?
No. It's a book that supposedly was written by John F. Kennedy. He's the author of it. Whether he actually wrote the words is another story.
Okay, they're wrapping us up there. He gave us. He's a professor. He gave us homework. We'll be back on Big Country Politics.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
In a country that's only 245 years old, celebrating a century in operation is quite a feat, and the Kiwanis Club of Abilene achieving that this year. Founded in 1921, KTAB's Noah McKinney takes us on a tour of their storied history in Abilene.
Gathered together at the Abilene Country Club, Kiwanians are celebrating 100 years in the Key City.
1921! What a year. Can you just imagine?
We can try to imagine that first Kiwanis meeting, but we know it wasn't held at the Abilene Country Club, which was still being planned out at the time of their founding.
But they have changed the landscape of Abilene. Their handprint is all over this city.
One such handprint can be seen in the over 760 gumball machines seen all over Abilene and even here in the KTAB break room.
And in those 50 years, 70 years, we have raised over $283,000 just in gumball money.
Small change when compared to the countless dollars they've contributed to Abilene nonprofits and organizations over these past 100 years.
It started with 50 members in 1921. Some of the service projects at that time was donating to Buffalo to Fair Park. They also started a milk and ice fund for children. And in the 1920s, cars were just coming into being. So there were drive carefully signs that the club placed at school entrances.
But 1921 or 2021, it holds true.
They're a group of people that enjoy being together.
As can be seen in this article covering the Kiwanis meeting of May 3rd, 1921, in which the three topics discussed were Abilene, golf, golfers, and liars, and the apparently timely topic, bad checks I have received.
So I would imagine those leaders would have never have dreamed that we would have gone 100 years and still making an impact in this community.
So I'll leave you with this. You have invested well. You are heroes and miracle workers, and the best is yet to come. Thank you all very much.
For BigCountryHomepage.com, I'm Noah McKinney.
And the list of things accomplished by the Kiwanis Club was too large to fit into a few words, so head over to our webpage at BigCountryHomepage.com for a full list of their achievements. All right, that does it for this week's edition of Big Country Politics. For the latest political headlines, always go to BigCountryHomepage.com, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks for watching.